In today's journal entry, we're going to talk about building our own board of directors. Now, that's a concept I learned very early on in my sentence. I learned the importance of having a board of directors because studying business leaders was something that I understood could really help me through the journey. You see, business leaders are very much like somebody who's going through a long prison sentence. They want to solve problems or solve pain points for their consumers. And if we learned what strategies they use to solve their problems, we can apply those same strategies to our own life. And one thing that business leaders do is they seek guidance from a diverse group of people. They understand that people with various backgrounds and experiences can be extremely helpful to them as they strive to overcome new challenges or create more value. And they find this group and put them together as a board of directors. And what that board of directors does is it gives them guidance. It gives them insight on places where they can increase efficiencies or build new markets or find new competitive advantages or synergies. Well, as somebody who's going through a very long prison sentence, I knew that I needed to be thinking about, how am I going to get through this journey? I can't do it all by myself. I've got to be thinking about how am I going to get out of here? And so I wanted to bring mentors into my life. And those mentors, really, I kind of looked at them as they had a stake in my future. If I could get them to believe in me, I would be able to use their network of support, the people that believed in them, to open new opportunities. And all of this really becomes a strength. It's the way that we can build value in our life. I always wanted to build value, and that's what I would be encouraging you to be thinking about if you are going into this system, or if you have a loved one that's in this system. Encourage them to be thinking about how they can model behavior after other leaders. Other leaders can always help us figure out, okay, if I'm in a bad situation right now, what do I have to do to start building something better? And I cannot tell you how many ways that board or that group of people that I brought into my life really helped me along the way. There are so many examples that I can give, and so I'm just going to start by giving you a few of them. There was a time when I was in a high security penitentiary and I wanted to transfer to a lower security prison. Now, I didn't have any history of violence or a history of escape attempts or the type of disruptive behavior that leads administrators to put somebody in a high security penitentiary. The only thing that I had was a very long sentence. So I started inside of a penitentiary and I was making so much progress in there, I just didn't want to leave. But after about 7 or 8 years, that's when it started to look like, hey, it might be time for me to go and move on to the next phase of my journey. But I didn't know where to go. So I needed to have a very strategic plan that would help me get to the environment where I wanted to go. And what I did is I realized, okay, I need people of influence to help me, because otherwise a transfer to just any prison could potentially disrupt the progress that I had been making. So I tied into my board of directors to help me. And the first person I reached to was an academic. He was a professor from the University of Chicago, and he was very active in education. So I suggested to him that I wanted to transfer, but I said I want to take a strategic approach. He said, what do you have in mind? I said, well, I know that if I just ask for a transfer, I can be shipped anywhere. But if I get buy-in from administrators at the central office in Washington, D.C., they could help me get to the right place, but I don't know the right place. And he said, well, what do you mean? Why don't you just ask the staff, where's the best place for you to go? And I said, because prisons don't operate that way. You see, while we're in prison, I was explaining to him, we're really isolated from what goes on in other institutions. For example, if someone were to call this penitentiary and say, is it possible to get a master's degree while you're in there? The answer would be no. It was really only because of overcoming a lot of obstacles and using strategic thinking that I was able to get an undergraduate degree in the first place and then start working toward a master's degree. So what I told my mentor, the guy that I considered to be on my board, his name was Bruce, I said, I would like you to be able to go visit other people serving time in other prisons. And that's a pretty heavy lift to get somebody to go at their own expense to visit other people in prison in other institutions. And there's a lot of strategic tactics that have to be done along the way to get there. And he asked me, how do you propose that we get this done? And I told him this story about an article that I read from a director in the Bureau of Prisons Central Office who wrote an article about the importance of education. So I said, why don't you and I co-author an article and we'll work together to get it published in a peer-reviewed journal that this administrator may read, and because we're giving her credit as she inspired us to write this article, it may open a dialogue. And that's exactly what we did. We ended up writing an article, and I think it was called The Prisoner and the Professor Transcending the Wall. There's a link to it on my Prison Professor's website. But with that article, he was able to then call her in Washington, D.C., go meet her in Washington, D.C. And when he went to meet her in Washington, D.C., she gave him carte blanche to visit any prison in the nation. So he started touring prisons, but when he went there, he also got to meet with some of the people who were serving time in prison that were focused on education. And because of that, maneuvering, using my board of directors, I was able to find the right prison. Then I was able to tap into other people that were in my support network and persuade them to intervene with the Bureau of Prisons to make sure I got to the right prison. And that's what got me transferred to the federal prison in McKean in northwestern Pennsylvania, even though my home was in Seattle and I was arrested in Miami. So it was way outside of my region. So the important takeaway from this message is if you are in prison, there's going to be a lot of times when you face challenges. And when you face those challenges, you want to have a very strong support network around you. I called mine my board of directors. I considered them to be people that had a vested interest in the success that I wanted to become. And because they believed in me, they were willing to go out on a limb for me. But I had to give them the tools and the resources that would help them become successful at what I was asking them to do for me. And that's the same thing I want you to be thinking about, and that's what today's journal entry is about from the Prison Professors, or rather their Earning Freedom Daily Journal. In the lesson today, I am talking about the importance of building your own board. This is a way for you to always feel as if you're making progress while you're in there. And it's also going to open many more opportunities that you can leverage as you make it through the journey. So please make sure that you think about, well, what could I do to bring mentors into my life, to increase my board? I'm not only talking about your family members. I'm certainly not talking about people you meet in prison. Although those people can be very helpful to you, I want you to reach beyond the prison walls, beyond the struggle, find people who will support you and use those relationships or feed those relationships so that those people will be able to help you throughout the journey, but also when you come home and you're looking for employment, or you're looking to create business opportunities, or you're looking to raise capital, or you're looking to just recalibrate your life. All of the goals that I succeeded in achieving really were largely because I had a strong board of directors around me. All of them shared a commitment to helping me emerge successfully. Of course, I had to do my part in giving them more resources that would, further their commitment to helping me. And in the book Earning Freedom, which tells this story, I reveal all the different opportunities that opened not only while I was in prison, but also since I've come home. And this is now I just started my 8th year. I got out in August of 2013, and I'm filming this in August of 2020, even though this video will be part of the 2021 journal series. The important point is you've got to be thinking about when you're going to get out. You've got to be thinking about what can you do to strengthen your prospects for success. And one of the ways you can do that is by building your own board of directors. I hope that you find some value in this lesson. I hope that you're working through the journal, recording your daily activities so that you'll be able to argue that your success didn't happen by accident, but rather it was a pathway that you engineered together with your board of directors. I am Michael Santos with Prison Professors. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe to the channel. This is one of the ways that we get expanded distribution, although most of our distribution is inside of jails and prisons across America. We are committed to helping more people get the best possible outcome if they are facing court, sentencing, or prison. Prison Professors has tools and resources to help you. I strongly suggest that you get a copy of our journal for anybody that you know that's inside of the prison system. Thanks so much for being a part of the Prison Professors community.